Hello everyone, I am Jack and I'm back. And let me show you the next thing that I am working on. So I have the fender in place. It is actually screwed right here to hold it to this piece that I made. And then it is clamped to the door right here, which obviously won't work. What I was doing was making sure that the line right here was at least close enough that it could be adjusted a little bit. It can be. Initially, this lined up with that piece right there, but by adjusting, lifting up the front a little bit, lowering the back a little bit, it does allow that to come close to lining up. I might have to move this line up or down a little bit, but as long as it's only a little bit, that'll work. This will work. You can see right now I moved it back about an inch from where it originally was, trying to get just a little less overhang on the front end. An inch isn't that big a deal, but sometimes that's all it takes. Plus I want this centered on the tire, so if I come here I have about, seriously, one finger if it's absolutely straight, and it's back a little bit too far. So I could have sworn that was straight centered. Anyway, I can adjust it a little bit forwards and backwards. That's the whole purpose of the brackets, is once I get the brackets, and I'm going to just screw the fender to the brackets initially, and that'll get this permanently or semi-permanently mounted where it's going to go. And again, my goal right now is to get this centered front to rear. What's weird is that this is the part that's mounted to the C8. This is the C8 copy piece, so somehow it got moved back. Seems strange because it should have been located here. Yeah, see, there's a locating hole there and a locating hole there. So I don't know, maybe it got tweaked or something. I'll have to look at that. Or maybe if I pull it out, that's what it is. Okay, if I pull it out a little bit, that'll help. And then this can come forward. That can go in. Anyway, you get the idea. So this is where it goes, let's say within a ½ an inch. And that ½ an inch will be in my final adjustment once I get other things lined up. Let's see what else. Oh, so in order to do this, I need to make some brackets. Right now, this is just sitting on top of the C8 brackets. The actual mounting is coming in from the side, and that's built into the C8 fender. Unfortunately, C8 fenders have disappeared somewhere in all of the last couple of years. So let's see, what am I doing? Oh, so I had to make a bracket. So here's the 3 mounting points. There's one here, there's one here, and there's one here. Well, to get the first 2, I needed the distance. So what I did was, this bracket actually goes, let's see, like this on that side, and it comes up from here and then goes in towards the trunk or frunk area, and that's the way it's done on the C8. So I figured I would just copy that, but I didn't want to have to pull that fender on and off and on and off and on and off 100 times to try to make this. So instead, I came over to this side and said, okay, if it's going to be an angle bracket that way, then if I turn it this way, then the holes or distance between those two is going to be the same. So then what I did was I marked and drilled this hole, mounted it here, came over here and match drilled this hole. So now the distance between those 2 holes is correct. Now I can't do it with the 3rd one, because if you look, it goes down. This is straight, so those 2 are straight, and that one you can see is, oops, it's off, it's not straight. The other issue is, of course, that won't be down, because on the opposite, or whatever, on the opposite side, it's going to need to be bent what would be up in this, so that when I flip it over, it's down. So I I guess I can do this. Let's see if that mounts there and that mounts there. And if I mount that, yeah. So that's what I can do. So what I can do now is mount it here and here, and that's in the way a little bit. I'll have to fix that. So that's one of the issues right there. This bracket on the other side actually fits. It doesn't fit here, but it's because this curves this way, and then if you look, that curves the other way. Because I wanted it to see how it matches the angle. Let's do this. There we go. See, it matches the angle of that. That's what I wanted. All right. So I can move or manipulate this, but I really want this kind of for a reference. But I could take this, and if it wasn't for that, if I took that off, I could take this, mount it to that hole. That would mount it to that hole. And then I would bend this down sufficiently to drill that one. So I might do it that way. You can see it's off just a tiny bit, so I could cheat and do that. So let's see if I cheat and do that. I got that lining up there. That hole's lining up, and this. So it's off by, what, 1/4 of an inch, I guess. Let me see if you can, there we go. You can see it's off by maybe 1/4 of an inch or so. So I could move this 1/4 of an inch and call it done, which I might do. And I just thought of that. I was going to have to do something convoluted. Anyway, so now this bracket actually goes on this side. Again, since I don't want to mess with that, I pulled off the cover here on the other C8, and you can see where the mounting holes are. There's one right there. There's one right there. And then there's one right there. Those are the 3 brackets we're talking about. If you look, these oblong slots, that's where the plastic cover goes. So let me grab it real quick and show you. This piece goes right in here like so. And it goes under there. You gotta kind of finagle it in there. And then if I look, let me get my camera, I can see it myself. There we are. So if you look, that little tab goes in the slot, and it just literally snaps in there, there, and there. So I have to put those slots in here. That's after this, but I'm making it to where I can just reuse these pieces to fill that gap between the fender and here. And then there's a U-shaped piece that goes here and a U-shaped piece that goes here. So when you look at it, all of the surrounding here is this plastic cover. All right, let me pull this off. A little hard to do with one hand. And I use this kind of as a pattern for my bracket to get it started. And then after I got it started, I started actually match fitting this. So if you look, that little hook right there goes behind the hinge. And then this goes here like that. And obviously I just bent this, messing around, but no big deal. All right, and so then from the top, I marked where that screw hole is with red. So if I just line that up with the screw hole there, then this screw hole should line up, and then that one will line up. So what I did was then I put slots in this because it wasn't straight, and it allows me to give this a little bit of flex. And this is all just roughly cut for now. I just needed to get it to work. And then I noticed when I closed the hood, the hinge was trying to hit along that edge right there, and then these 2 bolts were going to hit right there. So I went ahead and notched it out. Again, a rough notch just to work. I can clean that up with a grinder in a little bit. All right, so I've checked this a bunch of times, and then I also slotted it, besides that way, I slotted it here and there, and I guess that's it. And I can always slot it some more. All right, now with that said, I come over here, and guess what? There are no holes on the fender, but there are on the bracket, but they're kind of hard to get to. But there is, let me find it, there it is. There's the bracket, there's the little arrow. Put this under here. I should put an arrow on the fender. I'll do that in a minute. All right, and it won't quite go in there because it's supposed to go back behind that bracket. So I can't quite do it, but I know it'll work because if it fits on the real C8, it'll fit on this because those are the factory brackets. So the other thing is I can use the hinge area to make sure it's lined up. So like I said, I'll probably make an arrow right there. But as you can see, if I push this in, it matches. It sticks out about the same amount all the way along. Again, the bracket's in the way because it would go behind the bracket. So then I could have done 3 separate little L-shaped pieces, and they could have been, you know, 1 inch, 2 inches, whatever long, and that would have worked. But I feel a lot better having the bracket go the entire length of this. It wasn't that big of a deal to go ahead and do it. It took a lot more time than just drilling a hole and mounting an L bracket, but this makes sure that it all lines up, and it'll give a much better surface to attach to. All right, so my next step is to take off this fender and mount this thing. And what I'll probably do is when I take the fender off, then I'll match drill that one. Much easier to do that way. Oh yeah, height wise. Oh no, okay, let me see. All right, I was worried about it not working height wise, but if I reach under here, oh, it is off a bit. So if I take this and put it against there, you can see that, oops, that L bracket's only gonna go to here. So then I've got another, what, 1/2 inch to make up. So I'll probably have to make a second plate or something to mount to this, to mount those two together. But again, that's not a huge issue. The 2 up here plus the length of this will support that well enough so that I can do all my adjustments. And then once I get all this stuff more permanently mounted, then I can go ahead and make that last piece. All right, so here's my fender. And so, like I said, I'm going to take it off. It only has, again, the clamp and a screw right there holding it on. And get that bracket mounted, and then put the fender on top of all that. And then I will slide it forwards or backwards, whatever it needs, to align as good as possible. And that should do it. So that's what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. I'm sure that's what it'll take me to do. I will take a couple of screws and screw the bracket, the new bracket rail, to the fender, so that once I put the holes, the screws in the holes, everything is lined up. And then I could say, okay, now that I've got the fender lined up, then what does it need as far as forwards, backwards, and all that kind of stuff. So that will be the first piece on the front end that is locked in place, and then I'll do everything else relative to that. All right, so like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate. And if you don't like what I'm doing, you don't know jack. Bye.